boys and girls, but you can make them run. You can right the wrong, you can take them all. So
have you ever been surrounded by hundreds of people and felt completely alone? Or just knew in your core that you were strange but suppressed it just so that you could fit in? I mean, we felt all these feelings at some point in our lives to one degree or another. It's just a rhetorical question. I mean, everyone knows life can be hard, confusing, alienating, just overwhelming. I mean, in Griff the Invisible, Griff knows the difficulties of reality all too well. Griff is an introverted, possibly deranged nerd who works as an office drone during the day and fights crime as a superhero at night. We soon realize, though, that according to society standards, Griff is just a nutjob in black spandex and a hockey mask who bothers his neighbors in a semi-stalkery, creepy fashion and probably belongs in a Lady Gaga concert or as the goalie on the Swedish team in a Mighty Ducks movie. He's a freak and everyone knows it. Except him. He's not in this alone, however. His brother Tim moves back to town to keep an eye on him, and there are people that do genuinely seem concerned for him, but it's in that patronizing, oh you poor dear thing sort of way. I mean, they don't actually get him. They just want to fix him, and that's when Tim's sort of girlfriend, Melody, enters Griff's life. I say sort of because they only went out on 3 dates, and he never even got out of the proverbial batter's box, if you know what I mean. And if you don't, I don't feel like explaining it because then it would get really awkward. So Melody is, Melody is instantly drawn to Griff because even though she functions in society better than him, no one really gets her either. It's all an act. As Melody herself says it, she says, actually I love this line, it's my favorite line of the movie, well, one of my favorites. She says, I live in a bubble that no one gets into. I feel like an alien. I live in a completely different world to the one everyone else is in. I can't communicate with anyone. I can talk to them, but I can't communicate. But you, Griff, you get into my bubble. It's a very cute scene, by the way. So, together, Griff and Melody in this movie, they explore what it means to come to terms with reality and what reality means for those who try to live outside of it. First of all, I just want to say this movie is about as perfect as a wingless airplane flown by an albino hamster, co-piloted by Grover from Sesame Street and the Abominable Snowman. In other words, this movie has some serious issues. The pacing is all wonky, the action scenes are sometimes laughable, to be honest. The film seems kind of confused sometimes as to whether it's going to be a superhero movie, or a rom-com, or just a dark comedy, and there's just a general lack of polish, both visually and structurally. I mean, about 45 minutes into the movie, I actually thought it was already over. I was like, oh, that's a decent ending, I guess. But, and then it kept going. So why the heck then should you waste your time to see this apparently half-baked, half-pint product? Well, this may not seem like a good enough reason for everyone, but this movie actually made me feel something. And not in that super saccharine Hollywood manipulated BS with romantic kissing in the rain or contrived races against time sort of way. Although to be fair, there is a somewhat plot devicey misunderstanding scene, but I'll let that slide since they actually did it pretty well. What made this movie work is this movie had moments I personally found touching because I didn't expect them to be touching when I watched them. Until they sort of just became touching in this sort of sneaky, messed up sort of way. It's like the scene creeped up on my emotions and whacked it up the backside of its head when I least expected it to. Not that I normally expect scenes to whack me upside the head, but this is all metaphorically speaking, of course. So almost every character was likable or relatable because even though they were outlandish, they were also very real, flawed people just trying to figure stuff out. They weren't these archetypes shoved down our cinematic throats to be digested like an oversized pill of platitudes. Say that 3 times as fast. I won't, because that's really hard to say. Anyway, so Griff, his brother Tim, Melody, They just have a unique chemistry that I really genuinely enjoyed. The times I was most touched were scenes that should have been weird or awkward or stupid or downright straight up messed up, but you know, when you see the movie through the eyes of Griff and through Melody, we see the delicate balance between the stupidity and beauty in life, between reality and existence, and between growing up and growing into the person we want ourselves to be. So, despite its mountain of flaws, those touching moments make Griff the Invisible a person and a film worth seeing. I give this strange, weird, unique little film a 4 out of 5 cubes.